What's up, guys? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our videos. Also, make sure you follow us all over social media so you don't miss any of our content or show announcements. Let's move on to the Detroit Pistons, who have won 7 in a row. They got a nice win against the Clippers on Monday night. Cade had a couple of issues with Chris Dunn, but the Pistons generally did a good job of using early screens to get Chris Dunn off of him, and Cade ended up putting up another monster 32, 9, and 7 night. The Pistons did an incredible job on Ivica Zubac. They're both Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart. They're just big and strong enough to handle Zoo's base. And like one of the big things that I talk about when you're battling post-up threats, specifically post players that are trying to play bully ball and that have a size advantage, you don't want to try to bother them up top. You're not going to bother them up top. They're bigger than you. You want to bother them down low. You want to disrupt the energy transfer of the shot. Every shot has a transfer of energy from the floor through your feet, through your knees, through your hips, through your shoulders, through your elbow and wrist, all the way up through the finish. And when guys are working on their games in the gym in the summertime, they have a certain flow that they have on those shots. And if you can disrupt their base and push them off their base, you can make them miss. And like those two guys straight up shut down Zubac's post-ups in that game just by disrupting his base. It's a great option to have for the Pistons that they just can play 48 minutes of a big, strong, hard-playing center that can cause problems for teams. I did a whole film thread on Twitter. You can follow me there at _JasonLT. I did a whole film thread on that game. So if you want to see some video options or some video examples of the things we talked about, you can find that there. But I want to zero in for a minute on their perimeter defense, because that's the thing that has really stood out to me in the last couple of weeks. JB Bickerstaff has these dudes guarding, and they have some legit perimeter defenders. Asar Thompson did a great job on James Harden all night. Dennis Schroeder can guard the ball. Ron Holland is guarding. But I've been especially impressed by some of the guys that reputationally have not been good defenders in the historical context. Like, I cannot believe how hard Tim Hardaway Jr. is playing on defense right now. He's been really good off the ball. He was a big part of them disrupting Zubac's catches on like in pick and roll. Isaiah Stewart and Tim Hardaway Jr. had some incredible roll man defense reps against Zubac where they just disrupted him and caused problems in those situations. Cade is playing hard on that end. Even Malik Beasley, who's been maligned as a perimeter defender over the years, is like trusting the game plan, doing his job, funneling guys into help. They're really, really competing on that end of the floor, and they're anchored by big, strong athletes underneath the basket, a couple of wings that they can trust, and then just a bunch of guys that are guarding on the ball. They are number 3 in defensive rating over this 7-game span. But they're also number 3 in offense. Cade Cunningham has just been doing a wonderful job running the team on that end of the floor. He's already over 1,000 pick and rolls this year. If you guys remember when we do our summertime lists, 1,000 pick and rolls is what I consider to be high volume. He's already there. He's getting 1.09 points per possession in those ball screens. That puts him up with the top pick and roll guys in the league this year. For example, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is less than 1 point per 100 possessions better in pick and rolls this year than Cade Cunningham is. He's just so good at using his size and strength to fend off defenders. In ball screens, he's Luka-esque with his ability to use physical leverage to generate dribble penetration. Again, like half the battle is getting the defender trapped onto your backside. And the only way you're going to do that is getting them properly set up for the screen so that your center can set a good screen. By the way, both Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren set monster screens. And that's a huge part of what unlocks. It's such an underrated detail in offensive execution, and it gets Cade's defender behind him. Once Cade's defender is behind him or on his side, he's got the size and strength advantage. That's when he can kind of keep them pinned behind him and start to slowly work down the lane line. When he slowly works down the lane line, he just has to wait for the defense to react. And it's the same set of reads that we've talked about when we talk about Luka and the Lakers. When he's going downhill, if the big man steps over and the low man doesn't rotate to the lob threat, it's an easy drop off to Jalen Duren or Isaiah Stewart right under the basket. If they do tag the roller, then it's the skip pass to the corner where they've consistently kept Cade surrounded by guys that can knock down shots. But if they don't react, if they let him play one-on-one there in the middle of the floor, what is the thing that unlocks the high level efficiency in ball screens that we see from the best players in the world. Efficient, short range, and mid range shot making. It's becoming one of the most underrated traits that we see in the best shot creators in the league. It's not about, oh, a mid range jumper is bad. It's about what can you find inside of 17 feet that you can hit at least half the time. Yeah, if you're taking a bunch of mid-range jump shots and you're hitting 42% of them, it's bad. But if you can get to a point where you're making half or better of those shots, that's when it becomes untenable for the defense. Because in the half court, anything over a point per possession is pretty good. He's shooting 50% on floaters this year. He's shooting 55% on hooks. And then on the jump shots that he's taking inside of 17 feet, he's shooting 49%. So he's on all of his short to mid-range shot making. If you put it all together, he's over 50%. That's the conundrum he presents for you. If you want to stay home on the roll, man, if you want to stay home in the corner, he's going to get over a point per possession in the middle of the floor. If you help, they've got guys that can finish under the rim. They've got guys that can finish off those skip passes. It also manifests as a post-up threat where he's been great this year. Cade has run 130 post-ups, including passes, leading to 142 points. That's 1.09 points per possession. He's really starting to get to the foul line now. This stood out to me in that Clippers game. I started digging into it. Cade has logged double-digit free throw attempts in 4 of his last 8 games. In his entire career before then, in 183 games, he did it just 9 times. And he's done it 4 times in the last 8 games. He's just blossoming into a foundational superstar right before our eyes. I like his attitude and competitiveness. He's got a little bit of a mean streak. I like that he competes on defense. He brings a certain physicality to the position that I love. He's constantly trying to go through people and talk shit and let them know that they can't guard him. And now they have surrounded him with the talent that allows his gifts to rise everybody up to the surface. Malik Beasley is having one of the best shooting seasons in the history of the league. I saw a tweet from Zach Lowe the other day, the great Zach Lowe. Shout out to Zach. Only one player in NBA history, this is Zach's tweet, has hit over 42% on threes while attempting at least 11 per 36 minutes, according to Basketball Reference. Steph Curry has done it 5 times. Someone else is on pace to become the second player ever in this group, Malik Beasley. That's the type of shooting they're getting out of Malik. He brings a really aggressive brand of movement shooting too, where he just comes flying off of screens to the left and to the right. He's aggressive in transition. He'll miss a lot of threes that are bad threes, but it doesn't matter because it's part of the overall threat that he brings, and it brings a lot of spacing benefits to this team. Tim Hardaway Jr. is not shooting the ball as well as Malik is, but he's shooting it really well. He's at 38% on 6 attempts per game this year. Just gives Cade 2 options that he can constantly be hunting, especially on his transition pushes. He's been so good at hunting them in transition this year. Tobias Harris is legit having a renaissance right now. In the win streak, he's averaging 19 points per game on 60% from the field and 42% from 3. He's giving them an additional point of entry when they're going on offense because he can post up. He's torching teams as a spot-up player. He's just been great. And then Dennis Schroeder, he's not shooting the ball well yet since he joined the Pistons, but he's such a competitor. And he's another guy who just finds a way, even when he's not playing well, to make big plays. They went to him down the stretch on a huge possession. The Clippers had cut the lead to 5 with about 3 minutes left. And against Amir Coffey on the right wing, he just hit him with a nasty left to right crossover, a great push ahead dribble to beat him off the dribble, and then rifled a pass across the court to Malik Beasley in the left corner, who knocked down 3, who ended up putting him up by 8 with a little under 3 minutes left. They have a clear 9-man rotation that I think they can shrink to 8 for the playoffs. My guess is that they'll end up dropping Ron Holland when they get into the postseason. But everyone knows your role. You have the 2 centers. Dennis Schroeder is your backup ball handler. You have Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. as the constant aggressive shooting threat on the floor at any given moment. They're a good NBA team. And I'm excited to watch them play some playoff basketball. If you look at the situation right now, they're holding down that 6 seed. So, if the season were to end today, they would end up playing the Knicks. You don't think Cade Cunningham is a threat to put cat and ball screens or to punish a guy like Jalen Brunson over and over again. Like they're absolutely a threat. We'll see when we get a matchup how if they end up being a team that I pick to win a series or not, and that matchups will play a big role. We're going to learn a lot about them tonight. They play the Celtics tonight, but they're a good NBA team, and I'm really really excited to watch them play in the playoffs and hopefully learn some more about them. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys for supporting me and supporting the show. We'll be back tomorrow with more reactions. I'll see you guys then.